In this video, we're going to talk about setting up taxes in WooCommerce. So I just want to point out first that it's very important that you talk to a lawyer or an accountant in your area who understands your local or state or federal laws to understand exactly what your tax responsibility is when selling online, and also depending on where you're selling to. So, for example, some places in the United States, depending on the state that you're in, you have to charge tax to people in your state, but you're not responsible for charging tax to people outside of your state. However, in Europe with VAT and things like that, it works a little bit differently. So it is worth a quick phone call to your accountant or to your lawyer or to somebody who understands the tax regulations and responsibilities in your area to make sure that you are setting this up properly. So you have the information and what you're responsible for before we go and start to set it up. But after you have that information, in order to access the tax systems within WooCommerce, hover over WooCommerce and go to Settings, and then click on the Tax tab. All right, so first we're going to check out the settings here, and the first option is prices entered with tax. And so this is inclusive or exclusive. And what that means is you're going to enter in the price of your product already including the tax, or you're going to enter it in exclusive. And so this is, but they're both of them are based on the tax rates that are in your system. So for example, if you're selling something in the UK and it's $9.99, and that's including your 20% tax rate, then if somebody from America comes and buys that product, they're going to be charged, £8.32. So you're including the tax for the people that apply for that tax, and it may be different for other places, but the price that you enter is already including your base tax rate. And the exclusive of tax means you're going to when you're entering in your product, you're only going to be entering in the exact product price, and the system will sort out the taxes based on your tax zones as well. So it's just depending on how you are entering in the prices when you're creating your products. And I would also recommend, we will put a link into the WooCommerce documentation for this tax setup, and you can read a little bit more about what I just went over. There will also be text below this video that goes into more detail, but make sure that you have a handle on exactly how that works. And there's some calculations on the WooCommerce page as well, so check that out when you're putting this information in. The rest of the settings are fairly straightforward, where you should the tax should be calculated based on. So should it be the customer shipping address or billing address, or the shop's address, the shipping tax classes, which we'll get into shipping. But if you are going to be selling a variety of products, and some items may have certain exclusions to tax or shipping, tax on shipping and things like that, then you can mess around with that. Rounding has to do with rounding the tax. Additional tax classes, you generally aren't going to need these. WooCommerce comes default with standard, reduced rate, and zero rate, which is probably everything you're going to need. Most things will fall under your standard rates, but if you did need to create custom ones, you just enter them in, each one on a new line, and you'll see a new menu item appear for each one. And then when you're displaying prices in the shop, whether they should be priced including tax or excluding tax, whether the prices during the cart and checkout, whether it should include or exclude. This price display suffix, so if you charge VAT, you could say, includes 20% VAT, and then after the price, it would show that message if you have something there. And then display tax totals, whether it's as a single total or whether it's itemized for each product in a cart. So these are pretty straightforward. You can hover over the question marks if you need a little bit more information, but this first option is the most important. And like I said, we'll put information below this video and also a link to WooCommerce so you can understand exactly what's best for you and how you're going to be setting things up. And again, that's going to be based on your local laws and stuff, whatever's easiest for you when you're entering information in. So we're going to go into the standard, your standard rates, and these reduced rates and zero rates settings are for kind of special cases. So if you are working with reduced rates or zero rates, that's the sections you would use, but they're going to work essentially the same. So, but your main tax is going to be under these standard tax rates. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to set up layered tax systems and tax rates based on where your customers, where your users are from. And I'm just going to set up a quick example. I have one set up here on the left, and we're going to set up as if our store was in the US, and what would the different tax rates be and how that kind of works. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a tax rate for the state of California. So if my store was in California, there's the different columns here, and how narrowly you define these is up to whatever your needs are. But for example, if we wanted to say set a specific tax rate for California, we would enter in the country code first. So US for the United States, GB as in boy for the UK. And then we'd enter in a state code. So for this, we'll pop in California. And then for the zip and postcode, we'll keep that the asterisk. And what the asterisk means is it's everything, so all zip codes. So if that was under the states, it would be for all states if we put an asterisk there. And the same goes for the city. And then under the rate, let's say that we would put in a 7% tax rate. So 7% tax will be applied to that. And we would just, for the tax name, let's just say tax. And then we have the priority. So when it comes to priority, if only one tax is going to be applied to each user unless they're compound. So the priority is going to dictate which one takes priority, which one should they be charged if they apply for multiple. And the lowest the priority, the higher priority it has. So one has more priority than two, if that makes sense. So for now, we're going to keep this one, and we're also going to include taxes on shipping itself. So if the shipping cost is $5, the tax will also be applied to the shipping cost. We're then going to click in a second row, and we're going to say US, California, and for the 90210 zip code, we're going to add a 2% tax, and we're going to do CA tax. So there'd be a special 2% rate for people that are in a specific zip code, and we're going to change that priority to 2, and we'll add a third one, and this is going to be for the rest of the US. So if they're not in California, then we're going to charge them a standard 6% tax rate, and we'll put in tax, and we'll give this priority 1, and we'll leave them all compound, or none of them compound. That way we're only charging one tax, and we're going to apply that on shipping. So it seems a little bit complicated at first because we all have different tax responsibilities and tax laws that we're responsible for. But once you get an idea for who you need to charge tax and what that tax rate is going to be, then you can see this kind of table makes it very simple to set up or direct taxes at the people that you need to, and to not charge tax to those people who are not responsible for paying, that you're not going to be responsible for collecting tax to. And the same thing goes for reduced rates and zero rates, but that goes into more it's more about how your business is set up and what products you're selling, but they work exactly the same as the standard tax rates. So number 1 is talk to a tax professional or a tax lawyer in your area to find out exactly what you're responsible for. Number 2 is check out the additional text below this video and also the WooCommerce documentation to make sure that you have a good understanding both on the tax settings and how these zones work. And then go ahead and inputting them in. Now, if you have any questions that are non-law related, so in the sense I can't tell you what you are responsible for paying in tax or what tax you're collecting, but if you have the information and you are still confused about how to set up your zones, please feel free to post in the forums, and me or someone else will try to help you as soon as possible.